Woo, woo, woo. Welcome to Badwolf Unincorporated. We now return you to your regularly scheduled program with your host, the Bad Wolf. What's going on, guys? It is the Wolf, and welcome to Badwolf Unincorporated, also powered by Badwolf Unrestricted. So join my other YouTube channel over there if you guys want to see me talk about all the normal things in the world. Oh, okay, maybe not normal things, but we'll call it the new normal, the new norm, which is crazy. They've taken the upside down and made it the downside up. Anyway, hopefully you guys like the new logo, and if you get a chance, check out Black Site 32. We've updated some of the logos. Refresh your browser. Some people have been over there and they're like, your consultation process is complicated. Yeah, it was complicated. Now it's actually pretty simple and a lot more efficient. So we're getting better as we go. Remember, I never started out to make like a whole empire saga, YouTube people, me fighting against, certain municipalities, principalities, law enforcement, and YouTube guru shamans who know it all and basement trolls living at their mom's house. I never set out for all that. So it's all been just piecework as we went forward. And the more you guys want of this, of my insights and your freedoms, liberties, and rights, I'm going to bring it to you. So as I make a little bit more money, sure, then I can get nicer stuff. YouTube doesn't make you rich, at least not me. Maybe they're paying other people something different. That's not what I'm getting. I'm still wearing the same hoodie, you know, still got the same marks on there, nothing special since day three. Like I said, I'm just your friendly neighborhood constitutional law rights activist and patriot of the United States of America and believer in the Constitution for we the people, for the United States of America, the Bill of Rights, and the Declaration of Independence. Now, this particular video goes out because people are still getting it wrong. People, even the Department of State had this wrong, and they watched my video, so thank you for that, and they corrected their code where I said it was written wrong. They had the wrong code in there, and it wasn't written right. All right, so to all these trolls out there, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm just saying I know what I know, and I can stand on it all day. I've already beaten various law enforcement, judges, district attorneys, prosecutors for the city. I've had judges ask me, we would like you to join us. Like they wanted me to do what I'm doing for you guys, but for them, I would have to have a whole lot more money and power, unlimited power to join the dark side. As always, guys, this is education entertainment, so be thus entertained. Now, this video is for the people who, once again, don't understand that there are more than one type of national. So I'm going to try to be very clear in this video. I don't even know how I'm going to tag this one and name it or title it to cover all of the things that I really want to cover in this. So I watched a very long, very complicated video this guy put together very well on YouTube, and it covered the nationalities in depth that are all out there. Like I said, I do my own research. I watch other people's stuff and then I review what they say and then I do my own thoughts on it. And most of the time people are, this guy, and I wish I would have saved the video, but it might be on my saved lists on my YouTube channel somewhere. But he did a really good job. It's very thorough. Not 100%, but I'd probably give him like a 95. All right. Most people don't get a passing grade from me. All right. And this guy definitely did. So I'm going to try to do my best guess without having, or my best work without having all the special animated things that people with money have, you know, and then it all goes into the montage and whatever else. So let's start from the beginning and cover nationality, the national. All right. So I'm going to try to cover everything I know. All right. So the first thing here is the word national. Okay. But before the word national, you had to have something called native. Okay. So what does native really mean? Native also comes from the word natural. So NAT, the root word natural, in the word national comes first the word NAT, nat. And that comes from the word natural. Okay. They cut and piece parts of words and words together to make new words. So national comes from the word natural. Okay. This is where you're in God-given inherent rights, unalienable rights, um, all that comes from. God-given, meaning you have this before anything else. Before anything was man-made or created, God created it. The universe, the grand architect, whoever put your bits together, you had natural rights. Now everybody has natural rights around the world, but you have some places like, Britain or this or that where like um essentially the king at this point in time owns you. He's denying you your natural rights. He's like, you're born on my land. Now, we could challenge that. I mean, I'm not over there, so educationally speaking, I mean, it's not my business. By saying that, well, there are native rights and indigenous and religious and private, but the king basically says, no, I own all that, and I decide if I'm going to give you that. But England was actually owned by, well, we won't get all into it, but the Egyptians and other people long before their reign. But they're the current rulers, and until they're either deposed or step down, dissolve it, it is what it is. So essentially, over there, you don't have truly natural rights. But here in the United States of America, we do. So you have first your natural rights. Then being born here on the geographical United States of America, the landmass consisting of the organic, not de facto, but de jure land, the dirt that you can pick up, that is America. That is presented by our Title IV flag, 13 alternating red and white stripes, 50 stars on a blue and white background. Each star presents or represents each one of the organic states. Florida state is the real thing, different than the corporate territory known as state of Florida. State of Florida is corporate, on paper, man-made. That is a doppelganger of Florida state, which is the organic, the real, God given, God made, not man made. Those are two separate jurisdictions. So Florida state is the organic, it's the de jure. Your constitutional rights apply on that land. However, the jurisdiction that operates above it, if you plug into it, from you being a state citizen and a national, are then your U.S. or full name 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, which is your legal fiction or you masquerading in that jurisdiction, like joining a gang. So there's two separate things that intertwine over the same geographical landmass. But the geographical landmass is Florida state. That's where you get all your full rights and everything. So they're doing business on top, but they don't own all the area there. They only own you if you plug into, use their stuff like zip codes, U.S. citizen, and you activate or use certain privileges and benefits, which are different than your inalienable rights, unenumerated and enumerated rights, freedoms, and liberties that come with the ground and that American flagpole. On their side, indoors, which is the jure or the de facto, is the same looking American flag, but it has the gold fringes. The corporation has their jurisdiction, maritime admiralty, corporate UCC jurisdiction, political, inside of buildings where that flag is displayed. Outside America that they're doing business on top of is our Title IV flag, which does not mention the use of the gold fringe flag. Their gold fringe flag is regulated by Army regulations. You can find it under AR 840-10, use of the gold fringe flag. That means everywhere that flag is, essentially, around the world, they're all governed by the American Army. I learned this from a guy who was high ranking in the Army when I was a Boy Scout and became an Eagle Scout. He taught me this. I didn't want to believe it. But as a Boy Scout, he had to teach us the difference of what's going on. That's why you will never see, and you cannot see, a gold fringe flag flying outside on a flagpole bolted to the real ground. That is the connection. It is bolted. That is real America. The movable pole with the gold fringes is inside because it's a corporation. It's movable. The real America is not movable. Now, so you start off with the first word, natural, N-A-T. Then the next root word in national is native, N-A-T-I. So you go from N-A-T, N-A-T-I. So you are natural, you are a native, okay, and you are amongst other nationals or other state citizens all together, nationals. But the original word for that nationals was the word state citizen. You are a citizen of the organic state, which is represented by the state's name in either all lowercase, pure organic, or the semi-organic and somewhat corporate, which is the up and down version, or the corporate, non-living, void of facts, all capitalized, what do they call it? Topography, what it looks like. Okay? Spelling, all capitalized or all caps capitalization. So, you are in fact a state citizen, and that word over time, the government changed into, so a state citizen would be like, if you're born in Florida, you're Floridian. New York is a New Yorker. California, California. Wisconsin, Wisconsin. Illinois, Illinoisan. Michigan, Michiganian, I think. Something like that. All right, you get the point. So, in them changing state citizen, now, mind you, how I got involved in this years ago, one of the other ways, other than my Boy Scout master teaching us in Boy Scouts about that difference in the flag, the next big thing that happened to me was when I was getting my passport done in the old days, which if anybody out there has one of these old DS-11s, if you have the old application, I'm asking you to send it to me. Okay? And don't try to send me fakes like I'm sure some of these agents have. I know how to tell if they're real or not. I've already debunked a couple that I found on the internet that were deep fakes. Okay, we all can use AI now, and we all can use, little copy paste. So yeah, don't try that. All right. But the original one on the second page, on number 11, used to say, "Are you a U.S. citizen?" Check this box. Or state citizen, check this box. Now, though they don't have that clear option on there anymore, which is obfuscation. So it's really a federal offense that they're doing because they're limiting and refusing to allow you to know and see an easy way for a person of average intelligence to check off that standing. State citizen is a standing, okay? U.S. citizenship is a status. They're not the same thing. Standing means you're on the real land, America, terra firma jurisdiction, land rules, constitution applies. U.S. citizenship, which is for the 14th Amendment, is maritime, admiralty, statute code, commerce, public, and um, political. Those are two separate things. Standing, real live, living man. Status, dead thing, entity, product, straw man, etc. Okay, so I'm showing you the differences here. Now, on the okay, so now you know what a national is. All right, and now you know what a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen is. They're not the same thing, and we're going to prove that as we go through this video. So, with that being stated, let's first take a look at, excuse me, the actual rubber meets the road where we can prove that there is such a thing as a national or a state citizen. Let's shut up all the naysayers. So this goes out to all the law enforcement, the police officers, all the three-letter agencies that like to watch my videos, and me. Don't just clip a piece of this and then put it in one of your back rooms where like I'll never end up getting to talk to all the bigwigs, but my videos be there. Oh yeah, I know about those guys. Watch the whole damn video. These are facts. And even if you don't want to believe me, when you go and get these books right here, what are they? These are America's jurisprudence. Do you see what that says there? American jurisprudence 2D, aliens and citizenship 3A. All right. And I think I got maybe 3B up there somewhere, but this is 3C of the same type. And here's another one. When you read the actual law, it validates what I'm saying. Now, here's the thing. The reason why a lot of you agencies and law enforcement don't know about that is because you guys are not operating under constitutional law. You're operating under a federalized version of that law. You're not operating under the same system, so you guys aren't taught a lot of this. Now, that system is inferior to America's jurisprudence, the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and the Bill of Rights, but you're not taught that. You're operating in a different bubble. See, the bubble I'm talking about is the big bubble where we gave the system power to create their own bubble within our bubble. But what has happened is because this all outside organic is there's really no commander in chief. It's we people are the law. We make the rules, but we are to govern ourselves accordingly in such a way that we shouldn't be belligerents or combatants to each other. We should work on our own problems. That's real America. But because that can't really exactly be codified because it's natural, private, savage, they created their own bubble. And from this bubble, they created specific copying of common law, constitution law, and these things of this nature, and they brought a variation of it into their own bubble that we said they could do. So now they rule from inside this bubble. And all the people out here who were private brought themselves into their bubble. Well, we are the creators, they are the creation. So we are still more powerful. But when you walk into their bubble, you join their gang under the 14th Amendment, where everything is codified. It's got a pretty number and a message and a definition and it's, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you go into that, you become a member of theirs. And then from within that federal bubble that governs and takes care of things inside their own bubble and the outside, which is the private, okay, there's another bubble, okay? Now you're talking about the states. So now the states have their own bubble and they're allowed to have their own gang. And then they also control and use 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. And they have their state code and constitution and regulations and things of that for civil, commerce, commercial, public things. So there's generally these three bubbles. We'll say the outside big one is for nationals, and then you're talking about federal citizens, and then you're talking about 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. But the government oversees these bubbles and has direct control over the states, though the states are also their own thing. But if we need them over here in the private, we can bring our matter to them and they'll take care of it for us. Otherwise, it's we're supposed to govern ourselves out there privately. All of this is going on in the exact same spot that you're standing right now. Depending on how you operate, what ID you're carrying, you're wearing, the vehicle you're in, is it registered to who? The government, your own private thing, or the states? Probably the states. Well, then you're under the state's jurisdiction. So it's not like you're not still a national, but you're a national and you're a citizen. But in any one event, you can only be one or the other. So 99% of the time, you are always in the smallest bubble. But that bubble, though technically it's small in comparison to the power of the federal government, and even smaller compared to the constitutional bubble, American bubble, it is probably financially, or how should we say this? It is optically bigger, but it's a private members association. So is the federal group. It's a private members association. America is a private members association. So they're all PMAs that you have to join. Now, the smallest one, though it's called the public, it's actually a private members association for 14th Amendment US citizens, which is basically what the federal government can control them as well. But then there's also federal citizens that the government are directly their people. So anything under the government, which is the states, and the states have their 14th Amendment US citizens, are all under the government. And we are on the outside of the bubble, okay, as the most powerful. But once again, there's not a lot of organization there because it's all private, it's organic. Um, and all the other bubbles, they are like, well, we don't really use that. We have our own rules and regulations outside of the Constitution. So the Constitution has been abridged because all of them were only supposed to use the Constitution. But the Constitution and Congress were like, well, what we can do, we have the right to do business, right? Yeah. So if we have the right to do business, don't we have the right to have a PMA, a private members agreement or association, where we can then have our own little uh, membership fees and taxing and dues and our own rights. And I mean, that's what you guys are saying, that we have the right to do private things. So that's what they did. The government created their own bubble, and then the political party and maritime admiralty jurisdiction created their own bubble, and their bubbles overlap like this, and then their bubble overlaps into the big one. So supreme, medium, minor, but we use the minor more than most of the other ones on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so now that you understand that, hopefully, clear as mud, twice as thick, let's take a look at the first thing that pops up when trying to prove that the national standing is a real thing. But the main focus of this video is to show that there's more than one type of national, because people keep going, oh no, you're wrong, Wolf. It says here that there's only Samoa and Guam. Well, once again, I'm going to show you how and why I showed the Department of State and Cornell Law why they were wrong. Because they don't research the law as much as I do. So let's take a look. And once again, this is not bragging, this is just the truth. And for the love of God, to all of the, little trolls out there, if you don't like it, okay, watch what I'm showing here and then prove it wrong. Do your own YouTube channel or whatever else. I don't mind positive criticism. Hey, well, Wolf, what do you think about this interpretation of what you were talking about? That's fine. but you're gonna go and put like a shitey comment on there, and then like, and this is not everybody. Some people do it in the bad way, and some people do it tastefully. So, all right, so let's take a look here. All right, so the first place, because we have to prove it, not by what I'm saying, because I ain't shit. Okay, just some guy, cream of some young guy. That's what you want in your mouth? No problem. I got it all day. Now, but we have to go to the government because the government has to put out all of the information. So we're typing in GPO style manual, and you can go to 2016 one. I do like the older version, all right, which is the 2000. So you can see here, I've gone here many times, so we're going to click on that. So this is the United States government printing office style manual. Okay, so this tells you everything that they have to put on the public side about why they choose things. And if you look over here, for those people who don't understand authentication, meaning that it's really in America, look right here. It says authenticated, authenticated, authenticated U.S. government information. This means on the American side. De jure, American, not the U.S. corporation. Authentic means what? Real, not de facto. The U.S. corporation uses de facto things. Okay. So now I'm gonna type in 5.23. It brings me to page 73 under spelling, and then in here it has nationalities. So once again, let's back up what I was just saying. Let's reverse engineer this for those people who work in the government and understand, that's, a process. Reverse engineering is when you take something you're not sure about and you engineer it, but in reverse. You take it apart to learn about it. You're not building it, you're taking it apart to learn about it. So nationalities, ites, meaning more than one, plural. Plural what? We have multiple what? Nationals. So already out of the gate, there are multiple nationals, but they all fall underneath this category. But there's a subcategory to this type of national or these types. So all of these that we're going to be talking about, they all fall under one category, but under that category is another type of national. So we have multiple nationalities right here. The word national contains the root word nation. So your last name and the ground that you were born on is your nation. Native Americans don't have last names. They have houses, tribes, empire, whatever you want to call it. Within the word nation is contained the word nati, which is for native. So you are also a native. And yeah, sure, you don't have to believe me. I'll prove it in like 20 seconds. I mean, I did get A's in this shit in school. Just saying. Now, you want to talk about my grammar? Yeah, my grammar sucks. I ain't gonna lie to you on that shit. That's probably my only weakest spot. It's like my kryptonite, but can't be good at everything. So contained in the word nationalities, it means multiple national types. Within the word national, the root word is nation. So you have a nation because of your last name and the land that you were born on, the real land. This is presented by the baby footprint heirloom document at the hospital or the certificate of live birth. When you get the birth certificate from the state, the third version, they usually hide the baby footprint one because they don't want you to have it. They don't want you to have your national land claim. They tell you to send off the certificate of live birth to the state of Virginia, which is the corporation separate from the organic. So they give you a doppelganger. A straw man, a nom de guerre, which is war name in Latin. They give you a vessel, a business with your same name for you to operate in their jurisdiction over the organic land, separating you from your land claim and rights in the Constitution. You are no longer a national when you present that ID, identification document. An identification document can be a plastic document or it can be a paper document. Within the word nation is the word nati. Within the root word of nati is nat. Nat is natural. So you are natural, meaning alive, creation of God. You are a native. Your last name in the area that you were born on gives you your nation. So you are then called a national. This used to say state citizen. National is equivalent or synonymous with the word, means just about the same exact thing as the word state citizen. And there's multiples of you being all of this in this one word. So now let's see, let's prove it. Section 5.23, in designating the natives, so the government says what? You are a native of the several states. So here it proves that you are in fact a native. I was right about this nati right here in the word. It's contrived from here. Some of y'all don't know good English. I'm breaking it down piece by piece so that everybody of every average or slightly under intelligence or definitely above can overstand this information. You were never taught this. It seems scary and you feel some type of way. You can't find a book that counters what I'm saying. I'm showing you the most supreme information we have available in our nation, our country on this shit. If you can find something better that disproves what I'm saying, show it to me. Show me the money. Native. Even if you don't like me and you don't like this information, you're still a Native American. Straight, gay, bi, quad, trans, sexual, liberal, Democrat, Republican, whatever. It doesn't matter. You guys are listening to all that bullshit and they're dividing you. You got the elite in our country through our corporations putting crap in our food, poisoning brains, minds, education, everything across the board. Hail Hydra. And they got you guys fighting amongst yourselves. As natives, we are supposed to agree to disagree. Maybe I don't like what you're doing, but as long as you're not hurting me or mine, knock yourself out, little buddy. But y'all want to fight, argue. Look at me. I want to have a OF fight. I want to be a boss babe. I want to be a woman panderer on TikTok and all this other crap. You don't even know what's going on. They got y'all fighting amongst yourselves and acting like jesters, court jesters for the elite. I'll dance around for you, Mazel. Hey, Mazel, there's one of them negras over there. I don't like me, the bad wolf, even though I'm black and I got my own YouTube channel. I'm going to hate on him. Acting as house niggas. Crazy shit. Crazy shit. Delusional. You got chicks living in notice I didn't say women, chicks, no matter what age, can have old chicks, living in the land of Delulu, guys being soft as butter, losing testosterone by the years. It's crazy. Anyway, I digress. Sorry, I had to go on my little rant. All right. So what is it? What does this prove right here? Natives. But Wolf, that doesn't prove exact. No, we're not done yet. Of what? The several states. This is how they reference the America Organic. Notice the capitalization of the S and then lower part of the rest of the word states. This means the organic, the upper and lower. It means the mix between a little bit of the private and a little bit of the public. Capitis medius, upper and lower. Even though the government says they don't operate by that, but nonetheless, this represents or represents the organic, and I'll prove it. So the several states means the organic America. How do we know that? If we look at the word Ohio or Ohioan right here, it's upper and lower as well. It's not all uppercase, capitis diminutio maximum. It's not corporate. Corporate would be Ohio or Ohioan, which they couldn't do in all, not for Ohioan. Ohio, state of Ohio, can be in all caps. The organic Ohio needs to be in upper and lower. That's the real land. So the state of Ohio should be in all capitalized letters because it's a state. It's a creation of the real Ohio. The organic is upper and lower because it's a mix of the natives, the savages, the state citizens. Where do you think Native Americans are born that to this day we still have Native Americans, for those of you who don't know? What you think that they can only the people only they are born on those plantations, those reservations, and they're natives? No. The whole organic land makes you a native. Now, some of the natives, even though I am part native, they may not like what I'm saying, but it's a fact. They may want to keep the title to themselves, but sorry, it's not just yours. They may have indigenous tribes with a tribal lineage that goes back farther than yours, but guess what? Welcome to the pool. The water's fine. We're all Native Americans. We may not have a recognized tribe, but if you research $5 Native Americans, they were turning white people into natives a long time ago for $5. But we all get it already, intrinsically, by birth. This is the first natural thing we get. God comes before man made things. We had this first. And then by law, man made, which is inferior, we then got the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, but we'll get over there. So, if you call yourself an Ohioan or a Pennsylvanian, a Texan, a Wisconsinite, a New Mexican, an Illinoisan, Floridian, if you've heard those words and you believe that you are one because you were born there, then by reverse engineering, that must means that you are a native of the several states. And if you're a native of the several states, that also means that you are a national and you have a nation and you belong to a larger organic nation, which is all the rest of the Alaskans, all the rest of the Marylanders, all the rest of the Nebraskans. That group is then called nationals of the United States on the public side. On the private side, you can call yourself whatever you want, but they had to put out here what's really going on. Otherwise, they would be guilty of obfuscation of this information. They're hiding it. The average person in their right mind is not going to go hunting and looking for this, and most people never found this. But this is what it is. I'm telling you right here. This is their book. All right. So now that you know that nationals are real, and this is one type, so you've got multiple nationals, right, under one type called nationals of the United States. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to go to Cornell Law because I know a lot of the Cornell Law writers over there who may not know them personally, but they like to watch my videos. So hopefully they're following along, taking notes. We're going to go to Cornell Law EDU 8 U.S.C. 1401A. Oh, looky, looky, I got hooky. So under 8 U.S.C. 1401, Okay, for those who don't know, this sign right here means section, or this little squiggle means section. So section 1401. So this is law, federal law, nationals and citizens. Now notice if you go by proper, what is that? Uh, that's not linguistics, but anyway, citizen, the C becomes before the N. So really, the C should be the citizen and national should be first. Okay, C comes before N. However, in this case, they made a special thing because nationality, your birthright, came before the creation of citizenship. You were natural, and then you acquired something artificial, something man made. That's why they specifically do it this way. You have to know what's going on. So, under 8 U.S.C. 1401, national and citizens of the United States at birth. Let's see if I'm right, because here they're saying you get both national and citizens at birth. So somebody's getting both. Who gets both? The following shall be nationals and citizens of the United States at birth. Let's take a look here. A person born in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction. Is that you, Mr. Officer, Mr. Judge, Mr. Postal Worker? Some of the people who I know watch my stuff but don't like me. Bitch, you ain't gotta like me. I keep spilling Cristal on my white tee. But here it is. If you were born here, you are a national and a citizen at birth. Your bosses, do not want you to see my videos. Why do you think they keep talking shit? Sovereign citizen, sovereign citizen. Let's take out a tab and put that under his video on a banner. Sovereign citizen. There's no such thing legally. You are either a national or a citizen. There is no classification. There is no class codified for a sovereign citizen. They do not exist. Just like there might be black people, if you want to go by that term, that's a recognized term, African American. But guess what? They can't prosecute you, and I know people ain't going to like this, but they can't prosecute you under the word nigga. Sorry, not sorry. I can use the word though. Now, in the old days, the N word was looked at as a product, property, but we've gotten away from that. That is no longer a recognized term of a class of people. So you are either a national or you're a citizen. Your bosses are lying to you. They have to, because if you belong to the public as a postal worker, a police officer, law enforcement, magistrate, lawyer, anybody who serves the public, you are in a slightly different jurisdiction where you have to be recognized. You have to utilize out of your two things up. Out of these two, this one means private. This one means public. When you service the public, you have to be public. So they tell you, you must be a U.S. citizen. This is where the government and the states have the most power over you. They have zero power over you as a national because you're in the private. You are their boss. But when you switch gears between these two things that you are waiving your rights under the Constitution. I mean, not completely, the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, to then go into the public to be this lower class of citizen, which is a 14th Amendment citizen. You're an employee of theirs. You are subject to them and you are subject to the private person. You work for everybody, the public and the private. But when a private citizen brings their monkey asses over to being a U.S. citizen, well, but you're not a person promoted to office or voted in. So you are a subclass underneath them. If you're not a law enforcement judge, magistrate, postal worker, whatever, if you're not one of them, then you're underneath them as a citizen. And this is where most people exist. You're down here. You're not one of them up here, and you've waived this. So there are subclasses of things going on within them. Don't worry, we're going to get to where the subclasses of nationals. So now that you know that we are the primary nationals, we are the prime nationals, born in the organic 50 states on the American de jure Title IV flag. Each star on that flag presents or represents each organic state for you as a national. Anybody else is something subclass then, and we'll get to that. So who does this also apply to? Persons born in the United States to a member of an Indian, Eskimo, Aleutian, or other Aboriginal tribes. A person born outside the United States. So let me just click on the United States here once. Okay, so they're saying here the word United States is used here in a geographical sense. Well, what does geographical mean? And what does continental mean? Continental means the touching states, and the geographical means the actual real ground. Now, for those naysayers, okay, we've got more coming for you. Let's take a look. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's back up. Let's back up. So, for those people who mention like Guam, okay, these are also nationals, but they're a different type. They are a subclass. We don't have Puerto Rico, Guam, or whatever else, Samoa, as one of the stars on our flag. They are different. They are a subclass. Still nationals, no disrespect, but they're not the prime nationals. Okay? So if you go down here, people born in the armed forces, overseas, on any of our bases, or to American parents, talks about all that in here. All right. So are you guys still with me? You guys need a snack break, a hug, anything like that? Reach around, anything? Nothing? Good? Okay. So I know it's kind of complicated, but if you're still watching, you're either learned this or you're learning this or you will. So you now know that from your birth, there's a couple of things going on. There's two primary jurisdictions. There's the public, there's the private. U.S. citizen, national, otherwise known as a state citizen or a non-resident, foreign national, all that is over here. And yes, different government agencies, different states, different municipalities, different law enforcement all use different versions of these names, but these are the names that they give. Now, move that over to the side a little bit for a second. What you do over here is good for you in the private, but when you interface with any of these agencies, the government or law enforcement, whatever else, you over here doing whatever the hell you want to call your group, better the fuck know how to interface with them so that you can use words that they can identify. Because you jumping from here to there and you're using your own words, they're going to say there's no such thing, and they're going to be right. But guess how they're going to prosecute you? Not as a fictitious sovereign citizen, but as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen who is suffering from identity crisis, multiple personality disorder. You don't know who and what you are. So you're a belligerent. You're over the age of majority, but you're not competent. So they process you as a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen because that's what they have control over. You don't know how to fight and argue the right words and things and identify yourself. So you are essentially just as stupid as the police officers say you are. You haven't done things right. If you're over the age of 18, so your age of majority and you're competent, you are supposed to know all of this stuff and how to use it and move correctly. Now, if they refuse you while you've done all of these things correctly, that's when you go to the federal government and you sue that ass. You take their job, you get them fired, you take their house, you take their kids' lunch money, you break up their marriage. Now, I'm not saying do that, but those are some of the things that have been done. Now, that's not fair to the police officer or certain other law enforcement or people per se. Some of them are straight assholes, not all of them. because they're not taught any of this in their manuals. Because I was going to become a cop and a federal officer. I know these things. I got all the books, read all the things, did all the training. In their books, most of them refer to amongst themselves, they refer to state citizens. This is their word for state citizen and national. They don't really know those words, but they know private citizen. Their books speak about foreign nationals. And in their books, it says foreign nationals are people who aren't born here. But what does that mean on the legal level? See, this is where they're like, oh, he's just talking semantics. No, it's because you are not smart enough to understand the law. What their books really mean on a legal level when they say foreign national, it means somebody not born within the corporate United States, which would be the state of Maryland. But when you are saying you were born in Maryland state, they think those things are the same thing, and they're not. They are legally foreign to each other. The United States Corporation, or just the United States, is foreign in relation to the United States of America. I made a video where on Cornell Law, it showed that if you're talking about the United States, when you sign your affidavits, you put on there either with the United States, which means the corporate, or without the United States, which then means the United States of America or the several states. See, they don't use constitutional law a whole lot. Even the government, which is technically foreign to America, but represents our values. They're held in trust. They're taking care of everything America for us. They are like, we will take care of your Constitution, Declaration of Independence, and Bill of Rights. We will keep it all safe. We'll keep you guys safe, but we're also going to have our own jurisdiction of laws. And then the political party made their own little jurisdiction. So those are the three main ones: private, public, public. Well, technically, private, public, and private, which is the federal government, and private, or technically that's public, depending on how you want to look at it. So, true private, public and private, public, commerce, commercial, UCC. Okay? All right. So, we've proven that there's a real thing as a national. We've proven that you get nationality and citizenship. But now we need to prove that there's a difference between nationality and citizenship. See, if I was going to fight me, I would say, well, Mr. Lovett, yeah, I'm with you so far. Okay, sounds great. But you know what? I'm from Zimbabwe or the Aleutian Islands or whatever, right? And nationality and citizenship are the same thing everywhere around the world. So you're bullshit. I'm calling you out. Throwing a flag in the field. I got that ass. Let's take a look. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to jump over to what is it? 8 FAM 301.1-1. So we're going to the Foreign Affairs Manual put out here by the Department of State. All right. So I'm going to let it read. Well, let me make sure the sound is on so I don't get got. Okay. So this is a key paramount section for law enforcement and legal departments. Department of State already knows about this because they've watched my videos and changed the codes to what I told them that it should be because they had it wrong. Blah, 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 and anybody else who needs to see it or hear this. So let's go.
A U.S. citizenship may be acquired either at birth or through naturalization subsequent to birth. U.S. laws governing the acquisition of citizenship at birth embody two legal principles. 1. Jus soli, the law of the soil, a rule of common law under which the place of a person's birth determines citizenship.
Okay, so hold on. Why would they even mention the law of the soil? Because this is where the Constitution, its power and jurisdiction lie on the soil. But what these lower courts and corporations and the U.C.C. are doing is they are operating on the water. So they have laws of the water for their statutes, maritime, admiralty jurisdiction. Now, obviously, what's then messed up is that they're doing it on land. But the law allows them to use a little bit of the land because they have to have somewhere to dock or to do banking. Water meets the land at what's called a bank. So they're doing banking and business. But they have infiltrated, and I forgot, what is it, 2 miles or 3 miles? They're only supposed to do it 2 or 3 miles from a navigable water source. But what they've done to circumvent that or to abridge the Constitution and other things is they said, well, look, we control things not natural. So by them piping water into your house, into these buildings, and creating cities that they pipe from the water navigable ways, they're saying we control the navigable waterways and anywhere the unnatural water flows because we control water jurisdiction. That's how they're doing it. It's brilliant. It's evil, dark, but brilliant. That's probably some shit I would do. So they're telling you right here that your Constitution, right here, is based on the land. But what these people, other people have done, they've drug their water jurisdiction onto land, over the land. So it's mixed. Not they're each one are their own thing, and the Constitution is superior to their water rules. Land is always superior to water. But this water is floating over the land. And if you engage in their benefits and privileges of the water jurisdiction, like driver's license, regular license, doctor license, joining the public, voters registration, registration, you're leaving the jurisdiction where you are most protected and you are their boss and you're going into the water. And these people use and believe in symbolisms, symbolic, symbol worship. You may not, that's fine. You ain't got to believe it. But I'll put up my court wins against yours any day. So let's keep going.
Citizenship. In addition to common law, this principle is embodied in the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and the various U.S. citizenship and nationality statutes. And
Okay. So you can't really invoke common law or constitutional law if you're on a boat. I mean, it kind of overlays a little, but generally, when you're out there, you're under maritime admiralty jurisdiction. That is the law of being on the water. So we can't bring our full law out into the water, and we don't really want to. I mean, we could, but I mean, we could try, but they would say, oh, it's a violation. This is our area. But what did they do to us? They brought their water laws onto our land, inland. Okay? So let's keep going. Let's find out. Let's get to the good stuff.
and 2. Jus sanguinis, the law of the bloodline, a concept of Roman or civil law under which a person.
So they're telling you right here that jus sanguinis, the law of the bloodline, which is utilized here by us Americans, is a tool of the Roman and civil law. So the Roman civil law is alive and well here under a different name. Officially just the law of the bloodline. But in fact, it comes from here. We adopted what they did over here. Now, somebody could say, well, it's different though. It's American. Is it though? It is, but it isn't. It's dirty. It's been tainted. It came from them. We use it basically the exact same way. We may have slapped our sticker on it, but essentially it's a franchise. We're using their shit. Same thing with the UCC. It might be in the American family, but it's been corrupted, retooled, and it's foreign to the United States of America. The government does not operate with the UCC. It operates with the Constitution. But the state ofs operate under the Roman law, civil law, UCC, maritime, political. That's all their shit. So we're using now in the hierarchy of things, to go off script for a second, if I was a governor or a pope or whatever else, and I still used Roman law, civil law, that's our shit, and you guys are using it over here in America, I would have some form of control over you. I'd say, well, you're using our shit. Either stop using our shit and create your own from scratch, or kick me some ducats, or I've got some kind of control over you here. And who again owns the District of Columbia? The King of England, the City of London, and the Vatican. Educationally speaking, do your own research. Look up Empire of the City State. It's a good read. Let's keep going.
Person citizenship is determined by the citizenship of one or both parents. This rule, frequently called citizenship by descent or derivative citizenship, is not embodied in the U.S. Constitution, but
Oh, so the U.S. Constitution, so this is what Trump was talking about. The U.S. Constitution does not recognize or have listed or printed anything about citizenship by descent or derivative citizenship, which is Roman and civil law, essentially Vatican shit. This is why he said he wanted to get rid of this. It's not constitutional, but it is done by statute, code. Which is not the same as the Constitution. It's not embodied, it's not in the Constitution. Now, there's an easier way to fight what he's doing on this, and this does affect some people I know. But if I remember correctly, the Supreme Court overturned this, said, no, 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 we've been using this long enough. It's a thing. And it's true. Because we do have statutes and codes on this now, and it has been grandfathered in. Let's keep going.
such citizenship is granted through statute.
There it is.
As U.S. laws have changed, the requirements for conferring and retaining derivative citizenship have also changed.
Now, why would they do that? Because it brings in more people. More people bring in more money and energy and power. So why would they not want to have a controlled amount of people coming into the country and becoming underneath their 14th Amendment citizenship? And then also, of course, giving them nationality that most of them don't know about. Do you see it now, or are you on the slow bus? If you're not following this, then you definitely are somebody who plays checkers and can't understand chess. And we're not even going to get into three-dimensional Star Trek chess then. But let's get to the main part for the video here that are naysayers, because we're about to Bruce Lee kick and Michael Jordan slam dunk and Michael Jackson kick in the nuts on this right here. So let's get it going.
changed. B. National versus citizen. Well,
So when you hear me quote 8 FAM 301.1-1, letter B, this is the coup d'etat right here. Once again, national is first. Why? Because it's most important. Citizen used here, lowercase c. Let's go. Listen carefully.
while most people and countries use the terms citizenship and nationality interchangeably, U.S. law differentiates between the two. Under current
So you just heard it. They told you right here, citizenship and nationality in most places is interchangeable, meaning they're the same thing. U.S. law differentiates between the two. U.S. law differentiates between the two. So they are not the same here. You get both, just like everything I showed you. But now I'm going to show you the subclass of national. So when they talk about Floridians, New Yorkers, Wisconsinites, Illinoisans, Californians, you are this national right here who also gets citizenship. But all of us together just fall underneath this term as national. You don't have to say American national. It's like saying obsidian black. You're saying black, black. We all fall underneath this prime category of national. There are multiple names that they have for this national. We'll show you that too. But there's a subclass that does not belong in the prime. They're secondary. They are second class nationals. We are first class nationals. This is our country, our shit. We bought your country. We took your country. We bartered. We acquired. Y'all came to us and wanted to be here. You're not first class nationals. Sorry to be direct, but this is the truth. We are the primary nationals. We also get citizenship, but there are secondary classes of citizenship and there are secondary classes of national. So we're going to get to that right in about like 2 minutes.
current law, all U.S. citizens are also U.S. national.
Did you hear that? So they just told you that if you're a U.S. citizen, and let's say you don't like my videos, you don't like me, you don't like what I'm saying. That's cool. I remember my first beer, bitch ass, you know. But the problem is that you're still a national. It just said right here under current law. So unless something changes, this goes for police officers and whatever else. But the police officers, when they're in duty or on duty, they are U.S. citizens. They cannot use their national side. They are 100% U.S. citizens. Now, when they get off of work, whether they know it or not, they're technically in the private. So they're a national. Make sense? Or am I going too fast? Slow bus? Special helmet? Anything? Okay. So current U.S. law says that all U.S. citizens are also U.S. nationals. This is a class. This is a recognized class of protected, internationally protected persons under UCC 18 U.S.C 112. Superior. But it goes on to say what? Read it for me, baby.
Nationals, but not all U.S. nationals are U.S. citizens.
Oh, so they're saying, and this is a double entendre. There's two different things going on right here. This statement means that you yourself can pledge to just be a national and not a citizen. But this also means that the double entendre means it has two different meanings. So this means here that not only can you pledge that you're not a citizen, you're just a national. You have that right. Even though you get it by law, it's always there. Unless you renounce, which don't do that. It's a trap. It's a trap. This is also as a double entendre, meaning it has two different meanings. Like if it was me, well, I know Cornell law won't do it, but it should be hyperlinked. And then under here, it should say exactly what I'm saying. That for legal purposes, you have a right to be just regarded or to depict yourself as just a national and not a citizen. You have that right. But the statement also means, and we're going to see that in the next paragraph or two, that there is a second but subclass that falls that goes through the national, but is a subclass of U.S. national. There's a subclass. Somebody not born. Who are these people not born that I'm talking about in any of the 50 organic states that are still yet nationals and private? So who are these other private nationals that aren't us, that by legal reasons are inferior to us, that aren't one of the organic 50 states? So they're not Alaskans, they're not Wisconsinites, they're not Floridians. Who are these other nationals? Who are they? Who could they possibly be? And what can they or can they not do? Let's take a look. It's coming up.
Citizens. The term national of the United States, as defined.
Okay, so now understand this. We've only been hearing the term you're a national, but the law also describes us now as also U.S. nationals. These words are synonymous. National and U.S. national are synonymous. They mean the same thing. But they're also now referring to us as national of the United States. So these three words and terms, which have standing in law, are all the same thing.
Defined by statute, INA 101, A, 22, 8 U.S.C. 1101, A, 22.
This is the part that I corrected them on. Somebody had a 1 here. That's not the correct one. 22 is the correct one for this.
22 includes all citizens of the United States, and other persons who owe allegiance to the United States but who have not been granted the privilege of citizenship.
Okay.
1. Nationals of the United States who are not citizens owe allegiance to the United States and are entitled to the consular protection of the United States when abroad, and to U.S. documentation, such as U.S. passports with appropriate endorsements. They are not entitled to voting.
So, did you hear what they said here? National of the United States who are not citizens. So, this would be your Floridians, your New Yorkers who just want to be considered and called a national. I don't want to be in the private. I don't want, or the public. I don't want that 14th Amendment stuff. Because you do what? You owe an allegiance to the United States, the organic. Well, that could be argued. It's not hyperlinked right here. All right. But still yet to the United States. So basically, I'm going to say the organic, but you can interpret that how you want. Okay. Should be hyperlinked, but whatever. They are still entitled to consular protection under the United States when abroad. So generally, this should mean the corporation. So the corporation should be out there protecting us nationals who were born here, who have allegiance to the United States and America, no matter where we go. And look, they said, such as U.S. passport appropriate endorsements. So the passport endorsement for a national is a real thing. How do we know that? They're going to tell you in about 20 seconds.
Voting representation in Congress and, under most state laws, are not entitled to vote in federal, state, or local elections except in their place of birth.
Okay, so when I was at the post office years ago before the immortal passport agent guy retired mysteriously, we'll leave that alone for now. He told me this. He says, well, look, he said, if you check off the state citizen box on the DS11, number 11, page 2, you cannot vote in federal or state elections, and sometimes not local. Because if you're not saying you're a 14th Amendment U.S. citizen, which is also a federal citizen, then you should not be voting for a federal or state. But your local stuff, you're entitled to as a state citizen for the most part. Most places will accept that. But if you're saying that you're not a 14th Amendment citizen and you're a national, a savage, why would you want to take place or part in anything registered and for voting? That is for 14th Amendment U.S. citizens. That is for the internal member of the U.S. corporation. UCC 9-307, letter H, location of the debtor. The United States is a federal corporation. It is for their members. And the state ofs are their members. It's for their people. But how do we know there's actually a code for the national now that we know it's real? I'm glad you asked.
Birth. See 7 FAM 012 and 7 FAM 1300 Appendix B Endorsement 09.
So once again, something that I put out years ago before anybody else seen and found this passage. This is what we seen. This is what we put into the passport explanatory statement. This was one of the most powerful pieces as to why we get the results we do. Because we're saying under 09 endorsement, you can look it up under 7 FAM 1300 Appendix B, 7 FAM 012, or 8 FAM 505.1 or point 2, and look up passport endorsement. I think it's 8 FAM 505.2. That's it. And you drop down to the 09, and it confirms what is said here. This is your birthright as a national, allowing you to be a U.S. national or or a U.S. citizen. You have both, but you can choose one. But once again, Wolf, I'm not hearing you talk about this other national. Okay, it's on the way.
09. 2. Historically, Congress, through statutes, granted U.S. non-citizen nationality to persons born or inhabiting territory acquired by the United States through.
Okay, did you hear that? So now they've been referring to us as national, U.S. national of the United States, all the same thing. And what they don't mention here, which Department of State, you guys really should include somewhere in here, is and pay attention to which words come first. And I'll prove this after this part of the video. The Department of State refers to us on the passport. They don't say national. They don't say U.S. national exactly. They don't say national United States. The Department of State on the passport, their terminology, which is equivalent and synonymous to the national United States, is non-citizen U.S. national. You can look on the bottom of the passport, and I'll show it to you after this section. This is very important. By law, which words come first and the order makes sense. I cannot say I'm of states the United National. It has to be national of the United States. This is how they codified this term. As is, word for word. Each one is unique and special and important in its arrangement. You cannot say I'm a states United National of the. There's no such thing. So the key placement of each word is important on the legal level. This is why some of you guys don't understand. You're getting it wrong. You don't understand this information. You don't understand the legal level. Just because you read something doesn't mean you're comprehending what you're seeing. You're not understanding the superfluities of what's going on the legal level. You don't know the difference between capitalization of certain terms, certain words, and that certain words altogether it's a term. This term has standing in law. American national has standing in law. No, it doesn't. They don't need to call a Brazil nut in Brazil. It's just a nut. So they call us nationals here. They call us U.S. national. They don't say American national. It's redundant, retarded. You don't have to say that. They don't say American national of the United States. You can call yourself that in the private. That's all fine. But where they codify things, this is what their language overstands. You have to learn to convert what they know to call you from what you call yourself in the private. The private is wild and savage. They don't play that shit. Call yourself something they don't understand, and they're just going to lock you up as a citizen and probably call you the N-word version of that, which is a sovereign citizen. You're stupid. You don't understand what's going on. You can be whoever you want in the private, but you step foot in the public, you better use their terms and know who you are. When you speak to an officer, like I do, you better refer to yourself as a private citizen. Everything is correct. Everything is registered properly. It's private. It's foreign. I'm a private citizen. This is why some of y'all are having problems. Not that this doesn't work. It's not that we're not getting the results, not that we're not getting our freedoms. I'm sorry, but even these Martian mud monkey gurus out here who don't understand this because they don't specialize in this as deep as I do in this area. Now, I'm not saying that they couldn't snow me on certain things that they're way more fluent than. I am not the all knowing Wizard of Oz. I'm just saying, if you're in my backyard, I know my shit. I'm not going to come to your backyard to say, oh, well, you don't know what you're doing over here, unless it's something I really know a lot about. And then we can compare notes like to civilized individuals, not going tit for tat back and forth like we're some kind of jesters for the public, causing public controversy so you can get your little YouTube clicks and ratings up. Oh, let's make it hot. Why would I want to imitate the maritime public commercial jurisdiction? I thought you said you were a non-belligerent, non-combatant, a private citizen, a national. But maybe not. Hey, maybe you like it on that side of the fence. All right, well then don't perpetrate and try to pimp on the private side then. Stay your ass over there. You don't know what you're talking about. Truth hurts, tear gone, sad no more. So let's listen to what they say, because here's where the rubber meets the road.
Through conquest or treaty.
So the United States corporation, which is not the same as America, it is the muscle, the industrial complex. It says here, through Congress. Congress created these statutes. Statutes are not the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, or the Bill of Rights. Statutes are Congress, the corporations, rules and regulations. And what did they do? It says they granted something new. Granted means to create and give. So they created something artificial. What is it called? Something now called a U.S. non-citizen nationality. But wait a minute, Wolf. You said something about that earlier. It's the same thing. No, I said non-U.S. citizen nationality. By changing these two words, you're talking about two separate things. I told you, the relevance and positioning of each word in a term or a phrase is important. It matters on the legal level. So they created something different. How can you prove it? Well, one, like I said, on the passport, it's non-citizen comes first, meaning you're not a citizen, but you're a U.S. national. Here, they're saying you're U.S., but you're not a citizen and you're still a national. Why? To persons born or inhabiting the territory, like the states, federally acquired territory of the United States. We got your shit. We took your shit. We bought you. You came in. You pledged or whatever it was through conquest or treaty. So we either took you over or we created a treaty, or that's it. But now, who are these supposed special, different subclass nationals?
Treaty. At one time or other natives and certain other residents of Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Philippines, Guam, and the Panama Canal Zone were U.S. non-citizen nationals.
So they're telling you at one point in time, Puerto Rico, the U.S. Virgin Islands, the Philippines, Guam, and the Panama Canal were all considered U.S. non-citizen nationals. See, this is done on the legal level, and the legal level has to be very precise. They can't say, oh, well, it's all the same thing. No, they named it something different, slightly different. You think they put this word here in red were on accident? No. This is red. This is a signifier. It means multiple things are happening right here. Okay? So at one point in time, if you were from the Philippines, Guam, or Panama, or Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, you were considered, though a national in your own land, legally, we refer to you as U.S., but non-citizen nationals. Not the same thing as non-citizen U.S. nationals, which would be us up here, the primary class of national. This is the secondary class. How do we know that? Because it says right here, Congress granted this. This is something special. They granted and created a whole class because we took over these people. We're like, well, what do we call these people? They're still nationals. Well, they're not primary nationals. There's no star on the 50. There's no extra star for these places on the American flag. We already have 50. We're not adding any more stars, so they're not a direct national of ours. But then it says here were. So they said, okay, look, we're not going to put a star on the flag, but yeah, we'll bring you in as nationals. You're in the family. Okay. But then who are the current U.S. non-citizen nationals who have not been brought in and have full rights and benefits as us as nationals? Who are those people then? If they're saying were, I'm glad you asked. Let's get to it.
Nationals. See 7 FAM 1120 and 7 FAM 1100 Appendix P. 3. Under current law, only persons born in American Samoa and Swains Island are U.S. non-citizen nationals.
Did you hear that? Under current law, so now we're current, only persons born in America, Samoa, and Swain Islands are now called these special U.S. non-citizen nationals. So when you apply with your for your passport, if you're from America or America Samoa or Swain, when they look at your birth document and see that you're from one of these two places, but this is a subclass of national, you are put into the classification of being a national. It's one big pool, but you are a second class national. These are the people who cannot vote and do other things like U.S. citizens. As nationals, though we get both, if you operate and just be a national, you can't vote either. When you're voting as a U.S. citizen, not as a national. As a national, we don't have a president. We are all sovereigns of this land. We are all kings and queens. But in the corporate doppelganger, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde version, the U.S. citizen has a president. I just don't get how you guys aren't understanding this stuff, man. Or some of y'all. I know most of y'all get it, not everybody. Okay? So now let's look at the term U.S., then the word non citizen, national. And here, look, they give you the codes that apply. Matter of fact, they even use 8 U.S.C. 14. Oh, nope, my bad. I was going to say 1401. It's not, it's 1408. So here's the difference. If the term national, and these are the codes that apply to a national, this is it right here 8 U.S.C. 1101 A22. It also should include 8 U.S.C. 1401. Okay. But down here, they're saying this is a different type of national underneath 8 U.S.C. 1101 A29 and 8 U.S.C. 1408. These are not the same things. So now let's take a look at the passport. So remember, U.S. non-citizen national. Okay. Okay. Try to blow it up a little bit more. So it says here, I declare under penalty of perjury all the following One, I am a citizen, or, so they're telling you you can't be both really. You see this? Or, I am a citizen or non-citizen national. So if they have to put you in one of these categories, and we now know that the national is right, which one of these terms do you think belongs to you? If you're saying you're a national, should you check and don't check and do not underline anything in here? This is why you need an explanatory statement. They do not want you altering the oath. That is a violation. It's tampering. Do not, do not, do not underline or circle any of these. They're just saying how you fill out this document, they will make you one or the other. You will either be a citizen or a non-citizen national. So if you had to choose and you're trying to be just a national, which one would you choose? Citizen national over here, this thing? Where this says citizen? No. My guess would be on non-citizen national. Of what? Of the United States. Now notice there's no U.S. in front here, right? So they just call it here a non-citizen national of the United States. So if we break this down, so if you're saying you're not a citizen and everything in blue is missing now, because it like in math, not a citizen, this cancels, which leaves what? National of the United States. So if you're trying to be a national, this is what you're trying to be. Now, they don't have a third option for the people who are entitled to a passport. America, Samoa, and Swain Islands. So what the passport agency does is they put those people underneath this one, but a subclass. Now, we're not going to be able to see their internal encodings, but if these are the only two options, they're telling you that you are either one or the other when you apply, then that means they're lumping together all of the nationals, which are the non-citizen nationals and the U.S. non-citizen nationals underneath this, which means they probably get a specific or special code when they look at your birth data. Anybody who fills it out normally today being normal, they put you into the citizen, U.S., 14th American, 14th Amendment, U.S. citizen, right here. I don't know why people keep trying to challenge me on this shit. I don't even get it. I do this all day. They watch my shit and change it to suit what's right by law. So how are people with their emotional feelings trying to challenge me, but the system and the government and in certain agencies literally are changing their paperwork based on what I'm talking about? How do I know that? Because I've seen them change it word for word to what I said. Now, in the old days, this number right here, 11, used to just say, are you a U.S. citizen or are you a state citizen? It literally just had two sections that look just like this on number 11. So if you guys have a passport application that has it, and I'll know if it's real, okay, because I've seen the real one. I had it. I know exactly how it looks in this section. So don't try to send me no AI, fake, deep fake, or whatever else. Send that to me, email it to me. I would love to see it. I'll put it on the screen here so people can see it. But I've looked all over the internet. They've scrubbed them. They're gone. Um, can't even find them in the archives or anything. Can't even do a FOIA request. But if you have one and you've done a FOIA request, do a FOIA request if you remember that. If any of you guys are old enough to remember it, do a FOIA request on your first application. And that would have been back in like 1997 6, 94, 95, 96, somewhere in there. And if you have that, get it to me. I'd appreciate it. Because all of this is an adaptation. So remember, guys, when you look at this, they're talking about you. They're asking you a question. This is about you. Have you been married? Yes or no? If yes, complete the remaining items. This is a misdirect because the second part of this question is here. They're asking you, are you a U.S. citizen? Yes or no? But they smuggled it in with the question and look, here's how you can tell. They're asking the birthplace of your spouse. This tells them right there all they need to know, and if you're married to them, and as far as like about your citizenship or your spouse's citizenship. But here, this is about you. They're asking you right here. This is the second part of the question. All right. Now, really and legally, what they should have done here is removed this section right here from U.S. citizenship because it's got a question mark, which means this is a second series of questioning within here. So it's a two-part question. They have a question mark. So this is another question. This should have been placed legally right here at the end of it. But either they were incompetent or messy, or they purposely obfuscated this to make it look like it's all one thing. But that section, that new line of questioning within the first, so it's a two-part question, should have been right here. Legally speaking, if you're gonna go by the blue book or the blue manual on legal style, so this is not in compliance because this eludes for people to believe that one, you're talking about the spouse and asking them, and that's not correct. And then this here is another misnomer here. If yes, complete the remaining items in number 11. Yeah, well, this is 11, and then this would be technically 11.1. It's still in the 11 class, but it's a two-part thing. Because if you notice on here, nowhere on here do they ask you directly about you. They ask about your mom, they ask about your dad, but they don't seem to anywhere in here ask you directly. But in fact, number 11 is about you directly because it says have you. But then this throws people off and is very confusing. So this is not up to legal style. Technically, somebody could have a lawsuit against them if you were so rambunctious. Because look down here, another part of the question, a separate set. Have you ever been widowed or divorced? They're asking you another question. So this would be 11.2. No question mark over here. So this is a three-part question. 1, 2, and 3. So when they're saying complete the remainder of number 11, that's just this part here. This is a new set of questioning down here. Should have it in 11.1, 11.2. If you're going to be up to code and up to legal standards. So to go back, once again, there are only two classifications that they recognize. And if you're special or a subclass of either a primary citizen or let's call the federal citizen the primary one here. So you got the federal citizen, but then you've got the 14th Amendment U.S. citizen. So there's a second class, a subclass of citizen. National, you've got the non-citizen national, which is us, primary. But if you're born in America, Samoa, or Swain, you're a second class national, and you would go under here. So by your birth data, you are in fact one of these things. These are the primary classes. And then there are subclasses underneath them. Now, these are facts. Okay, these are facts. Let me save this document. Okay, these are facts. Now, here's where it hurts people's feelings, and here's where I'm going to sound like I'm some grand poobah sitting on top of the pyramid, and I'm not, because I'd be electrocuted because the pyramid actually forms a static electric bubble at the top of the pyramid that shoots up. But anyway, we'll leave that alone. Um, that's why they don't want you to climb to the top anymore. But anyway, if you read a government document or a website and it does not say what I just said, showing you what it says now in their corrected documents, that document is wrong. It needs to be updated. It is incorrect. Now, we can't say that they're hiding it purposefully because that would be obfuscation and a federal offense, and you could sue that agency. We can't say that. You'd have to prove that they knowingly did that. Otherwise, it's just a accident by the legal department who's not supposed to make accidents. But you can bring it to their attention and say this is not up to legal compliance. It's wrong. So, sure, some people are like, no, this guy thinks he's smarter. Well, I'm not saying I think I'm smarter than the government. All I'm saying is that I'm fucking smart in these areas, and they've watched my shit, reached out in some cases, and been like, yeah, you're right. Most of the time, they just quietly change it. So if I'm wrong, then how am I so wrong that I fooled the government, Department of State, Department, Cornell Law, legal writers, legal departments? That's a pretty big statement. I'm going to side on the fact that I'm right because as I'm reading it, I'm like, these numbers aren't matching. This information is not matching. I understand that there's different classifications, but this is not matching up. So then when I made these videos, they changed them, they updated them, they upgraded them. They're like, yeah. So think about what that means. That means I, an American, private, national, private citizen, patriot, on my own, free will and accord, sat down, read the law, mastered at least these pieces of it. My videos are then being watched by these three-letter agencies, law enforcement, legal departments, Department of State, and etc. And they say, well, let's just see if this guy's right. They then ran that by their legal department, who gets paid a whole lot more than me. So I basically did their work for free, or damn near. And then somebody who has authorization and permission to go into Cornell Law in the various places on the Department of State's website, which I don't know about you, but I can't do that. And they changed it to what I said because somebody researched and said, he's right. Because here's the thing, nobody knows all of the law. The law is also subject to interpretation. And this is what came from a judge. He said, Mr. Lovett, he said, if you are able to convince me using the laws that are out there of your point, that is the whole premise of court, is to argue your opinion, because that then means the law is not written specifically enough that completely classifies and identifies that specific thing, which means it's not perfected. So if there's gray area in the law, you can use it. If it's not written clear enough, then what they have to do is write it either more clear and or if you're arguing that point, they have to add that point to the law. A B subclass option. Yes, this means this. And it can also mean this. Now, I won't get into all of the three-letter agencies that I know specifically are obfuscating information and hiding things that should be out there that aren't on the national security list. But I'll leave that alone for now. Just going to focus on this stuff right here. So that's it, guys. So to all the people who've been asking me what the, like, oh, you're not from Samoa or Guam. Yeah, you're right. I'm not. That's a different class of national. I'm the primary class of national. So are you. But if you're from Guam or America Samoa or Swain, you're a second class. It doesn't mean that you're less of a person. It just means that here's the primary class, and then here's the next one. There are subcategories. You're a sub franchise. We came first, but we acknowledge you as also being nationals, but you're second on the list. That's all it means. So the passport agency, they're like, well, we're not going to have 85 tabs of all the different things because there's like 10 different types of citizens and nationals that you could be out there. Maybe not 10, there's a little less than that, but there's like a lot. They're like, we're not doing that. Either you're public or private, citizen or national, and we'll encode your card or book appropriately for those people who need to know that. So, like the guy, I won't say exactly where from, but basically, um, in how you will get the appropriate thing based on what information you have submitted for the passport. They will make you what you are based on that. Now, if you want to know more, then you're going to have to do better than me, which is you're going to have to FOIA request such information from the Department of State, Passport Travel Division, and ask them, tell them you want everything. You want every single thing that is not considered national security about the passport. And they'll try to say, well, can't you narrow it down? No, I want everything. I want all documents, all paperwork, books, everything, files, everything associated with that's on the public side or that we can have access to. I want it. But I'll tell you what you're not going to get. Now, before we go, I'll show you the one as far as you can really go. But I'll tell you this, I'll tell you what you're not going to get from them. They're not going to acknowledge nor give you any information on the stars in the passport because that is considered national security because they told me it was. We can't tell you that. No, 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 no. That's as far as I was able to get. So, do they mean something? Yeah, they told me they mean they're a national security thing, but they're not going to tell me what it means. So, my theories, my educated guesses, are based on research I've done on the internet. Thousands of hours of listening to people, how they submitted it, who they are, were they born here, did they come here, did they naturalize, and then all the way up to people who control and run embassies and certain private citizens who who paid somebody a whole lot of money to give me information that was private. So I put out some of it, most of it, not all of it. But yeah, you're never going to get your hands on any of that stuff because whatever it fully entails, whatever their full description of that is and what it means and how it works and the benefits and privileges that come with it, as I was given information from somebody who got it from somebody at a specific embassy. Um, if you don't know, we're not going to tell you. But there lies the catch 22 because shouldn't we be allowed to know what it is that we can apply for? But then the problem is that everybody would apply for it that specific way, and they believe that that should be considered a VIP thing because it is their creation to recognize certain key individuals. So it is what it is. So we're back to square three. But before we go, let's take a look at one more thing for the naysayers. The trash heap has spoken. Yeah. Let's go to 8 FAM 505.2, passport endorsements. So, for those people who don't believe that passport endorsements are real, well, here it is. Yeah, Martian Mud Monkey. Foreign Affairs Manual by the Department of State, Government. Passport endorsements. If you can read, I've just been proven right. Okay. So though they've done a couple of small modifications in here ever since I made a video on it, you can go back and watch my original videos and see what minor changes they've made. We'll work with the new version, and actually, I kind of like some of it that they've done. So good job, Department of State, Legal Department, and all that good jazz. So these are all the endorsements that go along with the passports. And no, you cannot just use any one of these. Stop listening to people that says, "Oh, well, I'm just going to slap on this." You actually have to be what it talks about. You actually have to prove to them that you are a member of a union or you are actually an ambassador. You're going to have to put in the proper information that proves it. They're not going to just give it to you because you say, well, I want a diplomatic one. No, you have to provide the correct information with the passport in order to actually get these. So, yeah, you could put endorsement 05F on there. You're not going to get that unless you are, in fact, a representative of the United States of America to the Vienna office of the United Nations. You're not going to get that. You're not. They're not stupid. I mean, some of them in the department are dumb or are obfuscating our rights, but they're not that stupid. Okay. Now, most of us use 08 when attempting to show that there's a difference between your AKA, your known as, or your given name and your legal name. Once again, look, they're not the same. Bearer uses an assumed name in addition to their legal name. So they can't tell you if you put 08 on there that you don't have an assumed name. Assumed name is like Mr. T or um one of the stars. They're like TI. It's not his real name. That's an assumed name. He assumed it, meaning to gather, to gain. And then which is basically assumed name really is your given name. But they're saying the name that you're using is in addition to your legal name. So there's a difference between a legal name and a given name and an assumed name. Like Bad Wolf would be an assumed name. I just assumed it. I started using it. My legal name is James C. Lovett. Or actually, excuse me, my legal name is James Lovett. My given name would be James Charles or Cash Money. Okay. And then I would be of the House of Lovett if you wanted my Native American way, or otherwise just James C. Lovett. These are all different things. But the given name can be construed to be an assumed name. But really, these are all three separate things. Name given to you by your parents, a name you've adopted, and your legal name on the public side when doing business, which is generally just your first and last name. You only use the middle initial if you and your father or somebody else has a name and it's too close and they get them confused or mixed up. Now, remember how I said there's different classes. So here, this is what the endorsement code should read when either printed by you in black ink or professionally by a professional printer. The Department of State can put this in there for you, but generally they do not. You have the right to put that in your book, educationally speaking, typed professionally, or make a stamp with this font and like this, all caps. They're telling you you can do this. You are the one. Matter of fact, if you open your book to the secretary's page, it says the bearer is either a citizen or national of the United States in the beginning of the book. This is what the 09 code is for. It's for nationals, just like it said on 8 FAM 301.1, 8 FAM 301.1-1, letter B. This goes on the endorsement page. This goes on the endorsement line on the passport DS11 where it says END and then pound sign. They don't put all of this together. They want to see if you're smart enough to figure it out. Because then you're showing what? That you're competent. Why do you think they watch my shit? Because they know that I'm competent to give away some stuff, keep some stuff private. It's part of the game. It says under this, placed in a passport book to a non-citizen U.S. national. So once again, the term, well, here, let's jump down to C. Prior to the creation of this endorsement in 1992. So after 1992, 90, so 93 and 94, that's when they had the state citizen thing on there. But they said before that, the bearer status as a non-citizen national. So before 1992, the non-citizen national was a thing, which means the national was a thing, which means the U.S. national was a thing. So this is just another term that means the same thing. It was already a thing since before 92. But how was this known? It was indicated by circling the word national or crossing out the word citizen in the secretary's message of the signature page of the passport book because there was no card in that time. So, boom, I'm right again. So, this tells you that the word national is the same thing as a non citizen U.S. national, which means that this word and who we are, born in the organic 50 states, is different than the term U.S., then the word non-citizen national. Those are not the same things. Just because your giraffe or rabbit ass mind looks at the same words and you're thinking, oh, they're just the words are just jumbled up, but it's the same thing. No, it the fuck is not. You're stupid. You don't understand what's going on. I'm trying to teach you. You want to fight? Fight. Cool. Go ahead. Leave my class. Keep. You've got nothing to show other than your feelings about why I'm wrong, but I'm literally showing you why I'm right. And I don't know, the most prestigious law library in the world, Cornell Law, and their writers watch my shit. I didn't invite them to watch my channel. The shit just got out there, and people are like, oh, let me see if this guy who thinks he knows it all is right. Well, here it is, proven right. So there are multiple terms for us: national, U.S. national, non-citizen, which cancels, leaving just the word U.S. national. But the whole term, non-citizen U.S. national, is us. But the secondary class, the second class, is known as a U.S. non-citizen national. I don't know if they have it on here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Let's just see. Well, I don't want to go through all 800 of these things or however many it is, but all right. Well, I'm like I said, I'm not gonna look for all of it right now. I'll do it in my spare time. I don't want to bore you guys. But anyway, so when you get this, when you or somebody from Samoa, America Samoa, or Swain, and you do the passport process the right way with your information, your authenticated birth certificate, no to mom, no to dad, no to number 11, the passport agency puts you underneath this because you are a national, but you're a subclass. And you get a special whatever endorsement. So it's probably on here. It's probably on here. Like I said, I just don't want to go through it all right now. Try to go through it quick and let's see here. But there could be something I'm missing. Okay, so I'm going to check that out one more second. I was trying to see if I could search through there, but I don't see it popping up. Okay, so let's go to chat. Can a person from America, Samoa, and or Swain get a USA passport? It's going to probably take a second because I have, for those people who don't know, if you want your chat to run like mine, you can go to jamesclovett.com or blacksite32 and look up the Chat GPT AI script. Then copy and paste it into it, and it will teach your chat to run like mine, which will make it use various databases out there and cross-reference things a lot deeper than the normal chats do out there. All right. So 1 second, let's pop back over because it just started populating. And for those people who don't know, yes, I write program, or at least I used to write program stuff. So it says here, it says, yes, a person born in American Samoa, including Swain, can generally get a U.S. passport, but as a national of the United States, come on now, dog. Come on, dog. Come on, dog. Come on, man. Let's get back over there. Come on, man. Man, I just be shooting them 3 points, man, all day. Let's go. I'm gonna have her read it because I like the sound of her voice, and I like to hear when a woman tells me I'm right. It's just beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yes, a person born in American Samoa, including Swains Island, can generally get a U.S. passport, but as a national of the United States, non-citizen U.S. national, unless/ until they later naturalize as a citizen.
Now hold on. Just so you don't think that came from me, look here. It says this was found under family records in the State Department. Acquisition by birth in America Samoa and Swain Islands under INA 308.1 is retroactive, granting non-citizen U.S. nationals nationality to anyone born in America Samoa or Swain, which is kind of good to know. So I will probably. Okay. So this is where they got it from. So though they are called U.S. non-citizen nationals because they're part of who we are, they can get a passport and it is done, and then they are slid into our group. So them sitting there, they are U.S. non-citizen nationals. But when they apply by rights, and I'll have to double check to make sure the Department of State has a section done correctly. But when they apply, they are given the same standing as we get. I said it was a subclass, but essentially they're saying here that yes, they are a subclass, but when they get a passport, they're brought into just being a national, but they still cannot vote and do those things. So look here, it says America Samoa, Swain Islands are not incorporated territories. The citizenship acquisition provisions of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution do not apply to persons born there. Oh, and I like how they said determined to be foundlings. That is that they use that in Star. Star Trek or Star Wars. That's interesting. So one could argue that when they get their passports, they should still be getting theirs as U.S. non-citizen nationals, not non-citizen U.S. nationals. But apparently, in their process, they're just like, look, we know that you guys are U.S. non-citizen nationals. Said it on the other page, but apparently, when they do theirs, they're upgraded in the passport process from being non-U.S. non-citizen nationals to being non-citizen U.S. nationals, which is the same as us. So they move from a secondary to a primary all through the passport process and are then given the benefits thereof. But once again, they still can't vote and do whatever. As far as I see, they may have changed the voting thing. I don't know. Or when they get the passport, it may entitle them to do such because the passport doesn't show, unless they do something special for these people, where they were born. So that could be a loophole in the law, educationally speaking. Or seeing how this hasn't been updated in 6 years now, they could have these sections wrong. And internally, the passport travel division should change these to saying U.S. non-citizen nationals. I don't know. So this is new. But here it says INA 3081 and INA 3083 confer non-citizen U.S. nationalities on people born or determined to be foundlings in there. So this being said, if you were born there or you are a foundling, they found you as a kid there, they underneath this INA Naturalization Act, they are conferred to then be non-citizen nationals or non-citizen U.S. nationals. Yeah. So okay, so this would be accurate then. So they're saying due to these acts, when you do your passport, even though you're a U.S. non-citizen national, but if you get your passport done, you're conferred to then be a non-citizen U.S. national. Okay, so that makes sense under current law. Okay, so I don't know when all this exactly, some of this changed. Okay, so as of February 19th, 1900, March 4th, 1925, and December 1952, anything before that, you basically sounds like you stayed a U.S. non-citizen national. But after those points in times, with you got because of this act, whenever this was done, looks like the first one was done here. It doesn't say when the third, eighth, this one was done, but you got non-citizen U.S. nationality. Okay, well there it is. So this tells you that yes, there still is a secondary or different class of national, but when they do their passport process through the INA 3081 and 3, they are then brought into being primary on the same level as that we are, entitled to, I believe, everything, but I'm not sure on the voting rights of that. So that's something I'll have to do the research on. But all right, guys, that's it. Prove my point. Did it again. Rockstar, number one stunner, Bad Wolf. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget to hit that motherfucking bell, like and subscribe. We still have about 22 to 30% of people out there who have not subscribed. Guys, this is the year to help me hit 100,000. Now, don't bring people over to the channel who ain't interested in the truth and discovering it and have a little humility and want to work together. This is only for nationals and people who are on the same level where we don't have to perfectly match. We can debate some things, but good, upstanding private citizens. That's all that this is for. But of course, for some reason, the light attracts the dim-witted and the darkness. We'll deal with them as we go. Not my first rodeo. But to the rest of you guys, hit that bell, like, and subscribe. Let's get me to 100,000 this year. This is the year. And I appreciate you for getting me to, what are we at, 88,000? So we got like 12,000 more to go. We should be able to do that with help from viewers like you. And even though I'm not asking for donations, you're more than welcome to do that on Black Site 32, but support in any way possible. Sharing the files, going to the websites, buying the products, services, consultations, or my new Living in the Private video courses on jameslovett.com. Also, support me on Badwolf Unrestricted, my other YouTube channel, where I talk about everything. And I'll see you guys there. Have a great night and a great summer. I believe in you. May no enemy and their weapons formed against you prosper. I'll talk to you later.